Good evening and welcome to the June 13th, 2024 meeting of the Abington Township Board of Commissioners. May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioners Brodsky. Here. Rothman. DePlacido. Laney Martin.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
Weingrod.
Here.
Henry.
Here.
Capone.
Here.
Young Gertz.
Here.
Spiegelman.
Here.
Bold. Schreiber.
Here.
Bowman.
Here.
Vice President Vahey.
Here.
President Hecker.
Here. Please note, Commissioner Rothman will be here momentarily, and Commissioners DePlacido and Bowl are excused this evening. May we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I have no announcements this evening, so we will move into public comment on matters that are on the agenda this evening for vote by the Board of Commissioners. I'm going to have to make a motion to open the public hearing. There's an ordinance change.
Okay. The minutes are again edited to exclude information. At last month's meeting, Mr. Hecker and other commissioners called for the police to remove veterans and the children of D-Day veterans from the board meeting. First, though, you incited citizens with accusations. Then you refused, Mr. Hecker, to allow citizens to respond to being labeled ignorant and discriminatory. Mr. Hecker, you refused a request to acknowledge an Abington World War II veteran with a flag on D-Day. Why was this excluded from the minutes? The minutes need to be corrected to accurately reflect events and statements from May. This purposeful lack of accuracy has eroded our freedoms. This has been going on for years in Abington. Being against a township-sponsored pride flag raising and celebratory pride events on D-Day does not equate to hating the queer community. Mr. Hecker, your accusations demonstrated no logic. Not one commissioner spoke out against your accusations. Commissioners are vetted to the point where everyone votes 100% together 99.9% of the time. Not one commissioner goes against the flow, even when the logic is bizarre. Governor Josh Shapiro ushered in a dictatorship here. The black screen, no sound, go-to response is meant to protect the leadership of Abington. This type of editing distorts the facts and is government censorship. If you believe in your actions and statements, get off the black screen, no volume. Very important, the police have no reports of commissioners or anyone receiving hateful or insightful email or letters against queer citizens at all this year. If you are getting, and going back even further, if you are getting hateful messages reported to the police, otherwise you are not taking steps to protect anyone. Mr. Hecker, forward your email to the police to get help. Mr. Hecker, are pride flag raisings and celebratory events for June 6th Day your plan for every year? Citizens are being left out of all decisions. I would never have known about the events for the Pride celebration on June 6th D-Day if I had not been at the meeting last month. The overwhelming majority of citizens, including those of the LGBTQ+ community, would never vote for Pride celebrations, flag raisings on D-Day, Juneteenth, or Flag Day. Citizens need to vote on this type of decision. Abington would be the top story on the nightly news if this twisted logic
Ms. Kubel, your time has expired. Please take your seat.
made it to the news.
Is there anyone else here who wishes to speak on matters on the agenda? If not, you coming forward?
Joe Rooney in Ardsley, still have a nice tie. And
I wore it just for you, Mr. Rooney.
Good. I said it's a nice tie, complimenting you.
Get on with your comments about the agenda.
Can I have my time, extra 5 seconds?
Well, you made
Great.
this,
Hecker, Mr. Hecker, you owe the township an apology for your untrue, petty, mean-spirited comments.
Mr. Rooney,
and we'll
do you
wait for
have
that
comments
apology.
about the agenda this evening?
That was in the agenda. So, yes.
Actually, it wasn't.
Nobody. If this is a back and forth, that's wonderful.
It's
If you're
not
going to
going to be.
interrupt me, then I get the time to interrupt you back. It's going to be one or the other. You don't have this fiat to go and do this at your whim.
I have
Okay.
the ability to ensure that we abide by the rules of public participation.
You violate the flag code, you violate the first-class township
Simply
code
not
at
true.
your whim, okay?
Simply not
Don't
true.
tell us that the 3 minutes is something sacrosanct, or your pettiness on this thing is sacrosanct. Nobody in the township wants 150 row homes built at St. Basil's. There's not a single person. I've asked several commissioners if anybody's ever asked them. The Sisters of St. Basil still own that property, and it's up for discussion tonight. I'm encouraging you all to vote no. We have 47 acres of land, but here's something that I've never heard discussed. The school district at the same time is complaining how they do not have enough classrooms to fit in the middle school in. They can adjust the classrooms however they want. We have a whole high school at St. Basil's that may need some renovation, and it still has 47 acres of beautiful open land. We should rent that property for the school district for 10 years, and I'm just making a suggestion to everybody. There are alternatives to tearing St. Basil's down and building 150 row homes, and then the school district borrowing $400 million of money in order to build new facilities, whatever. And just the taxpayers are struggling under the burden already. And you can shake your head no, but there is an opportunity here, and it has not been discussed. So you have St. Basil's, you have however many classrooms are in there, and you have a school district, and we have one township. I understand the Toll Brothers are going to be mad. They're going to go to some other township, find 47 acres of open land, and they're going to develop that. Because 15 minutes after you all give your final vote, okay, those guys are going to be moving on to the next township, and then we're going to be struggling with 150 row homes built on 47 acres of open land. You all talk about plastic bags and the environment. You show fake pictures of dead whales to people, okay? And then when it comes time to build freaking 150 row homes on 47 acres of open space, you vote yes. That's fraudulent environmentalism. Thank you.
Anyone else who wishes to speak here in the room? And if not, we'll turn to Zoom. Oh, is there someone? Oh, yeah, please come forward, sir. I didn't mean to jump the gun.
So my name's John Tracy. I'm at 663 Seminole Avenue. I bought my house in 1988. I hope I can get through this in 3 minutes. Last time I came up here to speak, I talked to you about the Toll Brothers, Inc. capturing the land from the Sisters of St. Basil's. In retrospect, they luckily primarily moved through their early land use and proposal meetings on Zoom, a platform that causes very little kinship and bonding from the neighbors. Now they're on their way to making lots of money for their investors selling overpriced luxury row homes. If I'm not mistaken, Toll representatives spoke about an estimate of each home at around $600,000 plus upgrades and HOA fees. Toll will target uninformed older buyers with good credit. They will advertise as luxury over 55 carriage homes with a lower than average, about 2% lower, interest rate from their own mortgage company. Buyers will do very little research about the quality, process of build, timeline, and contracts they'll have to sign. They will be introduced to a very nice model home which will capture any possible consumer's attention. They will also be shown upgrades which will be more affordable with the lower interest rate that they will get from the Toll mortgage. Toll contracts are extensive, and websites have warned buyers that it is a very good idea to have your own real estate lawyer or experienced new build estate broker examine these contracts prior to signing on for a luxury home built by Toll Brothers, Inc. Many complaints mention quantity over quality, cheap material, no way to get out of contracts if there is a life-changing event, and warranty services performed by uncaring outside contractors. Today is a day, if I'm not mistaken, where our elected officials get to vote on this Goliath of a builder in our neighborhood, where many of us have lived for 30 years or more. I have some questions about things that are going to proceed. First and foremost, I fear that Toll Brothers will not care about neighbors around their build. They will be moving large equipment around our streets. Construction will make loud noises at all hours, will cause spillage and release of airborne materials, toxins, into and around the Fox Chase Road, Manor College area, surrounding residential area, and the stream that runs into the park located at the bottom of the property and that flows into the Pennypack stream through the Larimer Park tributary. Beyond this, there are many other things that go along with mass construction. So to start, I want to ask, if the land was willed to St. Basil's Sisters, were the Sisters of St. Basil's under any restrictions in said will? Is it a clear title? Or as beneficiaries and owners, are they restricted to who they can resale the land known to be at the Sisters of St. Basil's High School on 711 Fox Chase Road? Has or will the appropriate state government agency, EPA, be contacted as to the possible release levels of asbestos that the demolition of the school building will cause into the air in our neighborhood? Who from the township will be responsible for making sure that demolition occurs under those government standards? Furthermore, can Toll safely and reassuredly build homes on the actual school demolition site? Number two, should the subcontractors doing warranty work for Toll Inc. 1099 employees have separate permits to work in the Abington Township? Do they have to follow the noise ordinance? And lastly, what are the designated construction working hours for this build? Will they have to follow the Abington Township working ordinance? And who do we contact to report any abuse? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Please come forward.
Vince Kelly, 614 Kirkwood Street. My property butts up against the Basil's property. From the beginning, I've been disappointed by the fact that the township hasn't had an ability to act on this property. With everything that was said by the last two gentlemen relative to the school district, I'm still kind of confused that we're going to develop 150 houses there. Obviously, I want to make sure, if you guys agree to it, that it's developed appropriately and properly, so we protect our interests. But St. Basil's had the property since 1929 and haven't paid taxes because it was a community service. I would have thought that the township would have had the first right of refusal relative to the property. With that being said, 47 acres, and we're talking about open space here and open space there. Everybody's moving outside the city in order to have some space. I myself was born and raised in Fox Chase, one of 10 in a 3-bedroom. And I know this is an old story, but you know, we're fighting for space in every township and every area outside the city, and we're rolling over and allowing development to occur. So with that being said, it's unfortunate that we're going to allow this to happen, and if it does, I think that we should make sure that it's done appropriately. And with that being said, when there's open land that's available, I don't understand that if people have community service and don't pay a penny in taxes to the township, that there isn't some concern by the commissioners that there isn't a first right of refusal in order for the land to be used for the appropriate township or the surrounding areas, like how Albator is for the best interest of the community or other open land. I mean, you ride around going to and from the Willow Grove Mall and on Turwood Road, that's open land that was preserved and saved. Like, this seemed like it was done kind of underhandedly, but with that being said, if you guys agree to do it, I just hope that it's done appropriately, because I'm not looking forward to the next 3 to 5 years of development in my own backyard. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wish to come forward? And we'll go to Zoom.
Laura Lehman, you're unmuted.
First of all, I agree with the people who spoke. The township should have taken that land and preserved that land. We need it. And we also need community service land, and we don't need any more residences. They don't benefit anybody. They just clog our streets and normally our schools, even though this one doesn't. And I would like to say that we have so many things, on this agenda as always, but I'd like to start by saying, again, that there are no proper speaking rights in this township until somebody hears what you're going to do after your discussion. Their comments are not really relevant. So not allowing us to speak after you discuss the item is removal of our speaking rights, and certainly was done today in the Economic Development Corporation meeting. The finance issues that are being discussed, I went to the finance meeting and I asked them to advocate for the budget to be presented early so that it's meaningful. Needless to say, nobody has advocated for that from the finance department. We have an item on the agenda of Lubavitch upping their contract. They paid $20,000 in 2017. They're paying only $23,000 now. Our 2017 was not printed there by Mr. Manfredi and his team. Neither was June 12th of 2012, the amount that they paid then. In addition, having done some research on the finances at Albathorpe Park, it appeared at one point that Lubavitch paid only $100 of a $50,000 or $60,000 heating bill. Their part in one line item was only $100 for the year. That needs to be investigated before you approve this item. And also, Lubavitch is not an organization that is open to all township members. Well, it may be open, but it certainly is a religious organization and not an organization that is made for township participation. And that's what should be going in buildings like Albathorpe, our parks buildings. We also have the E10 and E12 use coming up, and I thank you for putting that on the agenda and for passing it. However, like other things, like the billboards, that was done in a way where it came to a meeting without a properly vetted committee meeting. And you've canceled the working session again. Properly vetted items are the only ones that should be forwarded for advertising for a hearing. And that is being skipped again and again and again. You're violating all of our rights and you're violating many, many of our rules.
Ms. Lehman, thank you. Your time has expired.
iPhone 416, you're unmuted. iPhone 416, you need to unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is Liz Carr. I'm a neighbor on Forest Avenue, and I'm just finding out tonight for the first time after almost 3 years of meetings that the St. Basil's property that they had not been liable for taxes for all these years. And is there any chance of reconsidering the fact that it didn't have what Vince Kelly said was, I forget the term, like first right of refusal. So if there's any chance to look at that, could that be done? And then secondly, just hearing what the prior caller, Laura Lehman, said about the space at Albathorpe Manor being used by a group that's not really paying what they should, and it's not open to anyone who's not in their community. If they paid $100 heating bill, like, why can't that be used? As a nurse, I see such a need in our community for underserved children, particularly like a Head Start program for residents of Abington. Why isn't it used for that rather than for an exclusive community that does not allow people who are not part of that community to be in their, what is township property? Is that legal? That's my question for the commissioners. Like, how do they have, it sounds like a sweetheart deal. How do they have that? Who is backing this? Who's on the commission? That's it.
Thank you. Is something we want to, or should we follow up after the meeting?
About which question and which part?
The second part, I believe.
Sweetheart deal?
Yeah.
I didn't mean that part.
If you're referring to the heating,
Yeah, the heat, that's what I
it's
meant.
our responsibility.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Manfredi. Thank you. With that, we will now turn to the consent agenda, and for that, I turn to Board Vice President Matt Behe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for passage of the consent agenda listed as items A through E, and I so move.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The consent agenda carries. We have no unfinished business this evening, so we will move right into new business. And once again, I will turn to Board Vice President Matt Behe.
First is a motion to open the hearing on the final major land development application, LD 23-01, for location at 711 Fox Chase Road, Jenkintown, PA 19046. And I so move.
Second.
To open the hearing? Oh, for sure. Yeah, all right. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We'll open the hearing.
Yes, we can go ahead and open the hearing. So this is a hearing related to a final major land development application. Land development application is LD 23-01 for the location at 711 Fox Chase Road, Jenkintown, PA 19046, also known as St. Basil's. As the board will recall, this was the subject of a hearing that took place in March of 2024, at which time preliminary land development and subdivision approval was granted along with several waivers. The plans have subsequently been revised, and there are minor differences since the preliminary approval, but this has been reviewed by township staff and is now in a position for consideration for final approval by the Board of Commissioners.
Is there confusion?
I'm sorry, am I on the wrong agenda item? Sorry.
That's,
What?
the hearing is for the ordinance change on the conditional use.
Where is that?
That's item B under new business.
That was my mistake, Solicitor Gallagher,
I thought it
but
was a bit of an unusual procedure, but I jumped into it.
We don't require a hearing on the final land
I'm
development
told the
plan.
mic didn't pick me up anyway, so.
so we're just going to forget that. All right,
Okay.
thank you.
But that's
Thank
the
you.
introduction to the land development application.
You want to amend the motion? then?
Yeah, let me amend my motion. Motion to approve final major land development application LD-23-01 for location at 711 Fox Chase Road, Jenkintown, PA 19046. And the court reporter, this is not, sorry.
Yeah. All right, we have a motion.
No,
Do we-
I apologize.
We have a motion and a second. Commissioner Rothman.
Told you it was a mess.
I just wanted to clarify some things that were mentioned earlier in tonight's meeting as to the former St. Basil's location. The reason, and we've gone through this before for those who are paying attention to this throughout the past 3 years, the reason that as far as I am aware, and others I've spoken with at the township, there was no communication between the sisters and the township with an opportunity to purchase the property. By the time that we were involved, there had already been an agreement that was as understood from conversations with those that would know and that we rely on as commissioners, that there was an enforceable agreement at that point in time. So over the course of the past multiple years, there would be potential ramifications that if the township were to interfere with such an existing contract. And when that was understood, that's when we pivoted to begin interacting with Toll Brothers, who were, for all intents and purposes, under the law, the rightful owners of the property. You can shake your head if you want, but this is a fact.
Ms. Kubel, please be advised that this is a warning that if you continue to interrupt the meeting, and if you say another one while someone is speaking, you will be removed from the building. Please respect the proceedings. Mr. Rooney, I don't need you to instruct me about what the township staff is doing. They're clarifying. I'm not selectively doing anything. Well, what I'm telling you right now is stop talking.
Mr. Rooney, I'm doing my job here. That is not proper. I'm doing my job.
Commissioner Rothman, please continue.
Sure. So I, as one of the residents that lives in close proximity to this project, not as close as some of the people in the room, would also have preferred that this all went in a different way. But once that was no longer a reality, dove in as much as I could to trying to help the residents, and we are where we are today. I'm not going to rehash everything that was discussed and disclosed by Toll Brothers over the last few years. I may have, in what I just said, not perfectly stated the legal dynamics of it. I'm not a real estate attorney. I'm just passing on what was learned over the course of the past few years. With that said, if this project is to pass tonight, it is my intention to work hard to make sure that the owner of the property throughout construction and beyond is held accountable to not only township zoning and land development requirements and laws, but to help residents with any issues that come up over the course of the next multiple years where the project will be going on. As to things such as demolition and the previously mentioned dynamic that there is asbestos piping in the very old building, all of that is the type of things where I would still encourage residents to reach out to me so that I can get information on that or try to do what I can before certain things are being done to inform neighboring folks about what's going on. And like any other project in the township, there are township employees that are responsible for making sure that things are done in accordance with our rules and state laws, et cetera. So with respect to demolition and all that type of thing, which will be at the beginning of the project, I would presume, there will be eyes on it. They won't be necessarily my own, because that's not my area of expertise, but I don't want anybody to think that if this were to pass tonight, that it's just the township absolving themselves of any desire to help as things come up. In fact, over the past few weeks, I've spoken with Toll a few times regarding the lawn being mowed, and by the time some of the residents said they even read the emails, the property was already addressed. So that's not something that's going to happen every time, but I do encourage those of you that are here and anybody listening to keep reaching out to me so that I can do my best to help make what's a difficult and, in my opinion, as it has been since day one, an unfortunate situation be what it ultimately is. But I did feel it necessary to clarify some of what I would call, maybe innocent misunderstandings as to the process, having been as involved with it as I am. Again, I do apologize if I misrepresented the law or whatever it might be as along the way. But we did, as a community, try to explore if there were alternate opportunities at the time. And it turns out that decisions were made by those who own the property to go a different direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Rothman. Are there comments or questions by members of the board? Commissioner Vahey and then Commissioner Zappone. Okay, Matt, go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioner Rothman, for your comments. Look, I really sympathize with residents. I cannot imagine, buying a house along a school property and living there for years and decades and all of a sudden being sold and now being developed. I cannot imagine what you're going through, and I'm very sorry for that. Just want to address two of the concepts that were discussed during public comment. The first being the township having to preserve the property as open space. Obviously, that would be an awesome idea, but we'd have to purchase the property like any other purchaser on the free market, and I doubt we have the funds in our budget to make such a purchase. I don't know what the acquisition cost here was, but I assumed it was in the millions of dollars. The board does have the authority, pursuant to a referendum, to levy a tax just for the very purpose of preserving open space. I'm very open to having that discussion to try to prevent this from happening again to the extent we can, but that's ultimately up to the voters to decide whether or not to have the tax for that type of purpose. Secondly, the concept that the school district should have acquired the property to build middle school. I don't speak for the school district. We're a different entity, obviously. But just a few facts that I think, discount that as a viable measure. First, they would also have to buy the property, multiple millions of dollars, I assume. And I would expect that they had to demolish the existing school building there. St. Basil's is over 60 years old and was designed to accommodate 400 students. So it's going to be just as outdated as the middle school, if not more. And our middle school houses 1,800 students. So there's just no way that St. Basil's is a viable option for a middle school. So any idea that that would be a cost-saving measure for the taxpayers, I think is just far-fetched. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Vehy. Commissioner Zappone?
Questions. I know we've been going back and forth with this for some time. Just a question I had. I kind of know the answer, but I just want to make sure I'm right. The property itself is owned by the sisters, am I correct? They sold the property to Toll Brothers, correct? Mm-hmm. So how can we tell the sisters who they can and can't sell their property to? That's like, I can sell my house to anybody. I'm not going to have the government tell me who I can sell my property. I just don't get it. If it's their property, they have every right to sell it. And if that's what they want to do, what can we do about it? Get involved in that, and then the township gets sued? I don't get it. We've been going back and forth with this for some time now. And rightfully, they own the property and they want to sell it. I just don't get it. I'm not going to step and say, sister, you can't sell that. It's your property. Do what you want with it. So I knew the answer, but I just wanted to make sure, that that's it.
Thanks, Commissioner Zappone. Commissioner Spiegelman.
Thank you, President Heckert. Just jumping off very briefly from Vice President Vehy's points. There are very complicated rules and regulations about municipal entities and school districts buying and selling property. It's not something that can just be done the way that corporations or individuals or the sisters or anybody else can just buy and sell property. And as complex as the regulations are for a municipality like Abington Township buying and selling property, they're actually even more complicated and more restrictive when it comes to the school district. I just wanted to add that to Vice President Vehy's excellent points. That is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Spiegelman. Any further comments or questions on this matter before we take a vote? Commissioner Zappone.
So by this vote, it's just allowing them to do what they need to do. It's just boggles my mind.
Thank you. All right, with no further comments or questions, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Now is the hearing. Yeah.
Is the hearing? It's my turn? Okay. I move to open the hearing. Next item is BOC-06061324. And I move to open the hearing on ordinance number 2215, amending the code of the Township of Abington at Part 2, General Legislation, Chapter 162, Zoning, by amending and rescinding Article 3, R1 Low Density Residential District, Article 4, R2 Low Medium Density Residential District, Article 5, R3 Medium Density Residential District, Article 6, R4, Medium High Density Residential District, and the use matrix appendix to refine the provision of the E10 Life Care Facility, Continuing Care, and E12 Nursing Home uses. And I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of opening the hearing?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? The hearing's open.
Thank you, Commissioner Hecker. This is a public hearing related to ordinance number 2215, which will amend the Code of the Township of Abington at Chapter 162 by amending and restating Article 3, Article 4, Article 5, Article 6, and the use matrix appendix to refine the provision of the E10 Life Care Facility, Continuing Care, and E12 Nursing Home uses. The proposed ordinance will remove the E10 Life Care Facility and E12 Nursing Home uses from the R1, R2, R3, and R4 single-family detached residential district. The uses are also removed from the use matrix, and the specific dimensional criteria are removed from the district regulations. The density is considered incompatible with these districts, and the use is still sufficiently provided within the township. This ordinance has been advertised as required by the municipality's planning code and is ready for the board's consideration this evening.
Thank you, Solicitor. Are there comments or questions before I make my comments? So the catalyst for this, as everyone knows, has been the process that we've been engaged in over the last year involving 1209 Rydell Road. And through that, it became clear that this conditional use is not consistent with our overall definition of the residential areas within Abington Township. And so to prevent in the future from having to endure something like that, we believe that it is appropriate and important to remove this from the residential areas of the township. As Solicitor Gallagher mentioned, there remains other suitable areas within the township where this use could go and in fact has gone. And so this will just protect the residential zoning areas of the township moving forward. And for that reason, I am absolutely going to support this. Does anyone else wish to comment? Now, do we close the hearing before we take the vote?
Yes, a motion to close the public hearing will be appropriate.
Okay.
Mr. President, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Well, it was on the agenda. Okay. So it's been moved and seconded. Yes. All those in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The hearing is closed. Now I'll entertain a motion to adopt the ordinance.
So you dare. All right, so I move to adopt ordinance number 2215 as more fully stated in the agenda. And I so move.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries.
And the last item of new business is BOC-07061 through 24, motion to authorize the solicitor to advertise ordinance number 2216, amending Chapter 162, the zoning ordinance to regulate the size of billboards. And I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Manager Manfredi, would you mind just making a comment or two about this change? Yeah, the billboards. And if it's more appropriate for Solicitor Gallagher to do it.
I'll start and then she could pick it up.
Okay.
So the impetus for this has been inquiries by various billboard companies to place billboards in locations that may not be suitable. In a review of the ordinance by Solicitor Heleniak and Ms. Gallagher, they believe that the best way to position us to not allow billboards to go in those locations and in sizes is to move swiftly on this, which is why it's on this agenda versus going through the other process.
Got it.
Right, so this would limit the size of billboard faces to 200 feet, which is consistent with the largest sign area in the BC districts. And the recommended size limitation is generally consistent with the Montgomery County Planning Commission's model sign ordinance for visibility along roadways that are not limited access highways. So this is consistent with the existing township ordinances and the model ordinances as well.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Brown.
Will the ordinance cover both printed and digital billboards?
Yes.
Vice President Vehy.
Is there location limitations?
This would apply to all billboards in the township, all new
Anywhere?
billboards. Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Schreiber.
Is there a limit of how many in a certain radius?
That is not part of this ordinance, and I would have to take a look at our existing code to see whether there is that limitation. I believe that is part of the model sign ordinance, but I don't know the answer to that offhand.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional comments or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
And that concludes the new business, Mr. President.
Thank you, Vice President Vehy. We will now move to matters for the Finance Committee, and I will turn to Finance Committee Chair, Commissioner Stuart Weingrad.
Thank you, President Hecker. One item, FC 01061324, motion to approve the April 2024 expenditures in the amount of $2,730,234.25 and salaries and wages in the amount of $2,281,372.97, and authorizing the proper officials to sign and approve invoices and supporting documentation and payment of bills and contracts as they mature through the month of July 2024, and I so move.
It has been moved and seconded. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioners Brodsky?
Yes.
Rothman?
Yes.
DePlacido? Laney Martin?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Weingrad?
Yes.
Henry?
Yes.
Sapone?
Yes.
Young Gertz?
Yes.
Spiegelman?
Yes.
Bold? Schreiber?
Yes.
Bowman?
Yes.
Vice President Vehy?
Yes.
President Hecker?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you.
And that would conclude the Finance Committee agenda items for this evening.
Thank you, Commissioner Weingrad. We will now open it up for public comment on general matters of township business. If you have a matter to discuss, please come forward, and you have 3 minutes.
8 Ambler Road. 11 questions were asked last week. None were answered. I see that's happening this month too. Mr. Rothman, you have misrepresented yourself to me multiple times, and you have misrepresented information on a regular basis. Scheduling a Pride celebration with flag raising on D-Day goes against Pride values and the values of an inclusive community. D-Day is an inclusive day of national remembrance for all of those that fought and for the thousands that died. D-Day was the turning point in World War II, the deadliest conflict in human history. All heroes must be celebrated equally. Less than 1% of World War II veterans are alive. 3 speakers last month had fathers that fought in D-Day. One speaker said his father was shot 3 times in battle. Other speakers were veterans. Mr. Hecker, you smeared them all. Ms. Schreiber, your idea of addressing veterans amounted to announcing your choice of hero and speaker for D-Day. Who will serve in the military if one group is recognized above everyone else? Mr. Hecker, you refused to answer why D-Day was your go-to event day for a pride flag raising and pride celebration. Perhaps you wanted to incite citizens to distract from the greed. Gifting billionaires at taxpayer expense has destroyed Abington. Your billionaire friends need shots in the arms from taxpayers regularly. Abington Township needs a Roslyn Library building. Last month, Mr. Clark refused to accept a petition for a much-needed library building in his hand. Does Mr. Clark decide how tax money is spent in Abington? I have a second petition that states the Lisson Marion property is available for sale. This property needs to be purchased by the township. Neighbors need green space. We do not want more apartments. I believe the plan is to force Mr. List to sell his property. The next step is to route the property to a favored developer. Once that is done, commissioners will change the zoning to accommodate apartments for the new developers. In Abington, that would be called a shot in the arm. The Community Development Office needs to have a summer job program for high school students. The majority of you have connections in multiple fields. High school guidance counselors will be there tomorrow, Friday, and they can refer many hardworking students for positions. Create 10 jobs this year for students and 20 jobs next year. Call up. I'm sure they can fill the positions quickly. We need a summer job program run by community development to help with the many issues Abington is having at this point. And I also want to state, commercial codes are not evenly enforced. The worst corporations, speculators, do not pay fines and have never been held accountable. Raymore and Flanagan has had one court appearance, no fines, minimum improvements. 100 Cricket has
Ms.
2
Cabell, your time has
outsized
expired.
holes. They're certainly over 10 feet deep.
Ms. Cabell,
And that is
your time has
considered in
expired.
code.
Please take your seat.
Here are my 2 petitions. I'd appreciate it if you take them in your hand. Thank you.
Ms. Cabell, take your seat, or you will be removed.
No, my petition's not being accepted.
Take your seat.
I need to know. I spent a lot of time collecting these names.
You can leave them outside on your way out.
What?
You can leave them on the table on your
No,
way
I
out.
don't want to. I want to make sure they go to a person that's disrespectful of my time and all these people's
Please sit down now so we can
No,
proceed.
you're not answering. Why won't you take them?
We're not-
Who'll take them? The trash man?
You can leave them on the table and have your seat, Ms. Cabell, or we're going to recess the meeting.
You're not even going to accept petitions and you don't answer questions? Can I give my petitions to you? I'll take them. And will you give them to them? Because that's absolutely disrespectful.
Have your seat.
You can't get any.
Is there anyone else who wishes to come forward?
Absolutely.
Joe Rooney from Ardsley. Dennis, real quick, and for anybody that's listening, first, this has not closed yet, and it's all dependent. Toll's going to pay the sisters once they get the county or the township to agree to the waivers or whatever it is they want. So this has not closed, and real estate closings fall through all the time at closing, first. The second one is, in the very next item, you just changed the zoning on another piece of property on Rydell Road. So the township has the authority, if they want, to do stuff. The third one is, you didn't discuss at all. There's 9 waivers you guys just approved. That's just tonight. They weren't discussed at all. They weren't talked about, whether it's water right over electrical or whatever it is, the curbs. There's all kinds of things in there that you have the power to say, no, we don't like this. We want to do something different. So it's not like y'all don't have the authority. You just bent to tolls. The Sisters of St. Basil's are a Catholic organization. The Catholic Church is not a real estate operation, okay? And there are opportunities for creative minds to solve township-wide problems. But what I really want to talk about in this is, I just went through the whole meeting, all right? And I know you're trying to engage our police officers now in political discussions and disagreements, but there's an awful lot of things in our meetings that we should be doing to congratulate our police, to congratulate our public works, to congratulate our employees. Why aren't police officers promoted in a community meeting like this with their families here? It would be awesome. The second one is, there was arrests and assaults at Dick's. We should have those officers talk about it and thank them for their great service. There was assaults on the officers when there were theft done at Dick's. I don't know the details. There's another great story about 9 guns, I believe it is, have been captured just within the last month, including a backpack when guys were running away, and there were extended magazines and things. These things should be talked about so people know about what a great job our police officers are doing. Anthony Space was promoted to lieutenant. Why isn't he here with his wife getting a picture with the president of the board? Y'all ought to think about that and do something good and nice. It makes everybody feel good. Then the next one, Public Works. I was over visiting Mr. Bohm, who passed away, a 99-year-old World War II veteran, just died. The Lord took him home. When I went over there and came back, Valley Road was half closed because a tree had fallen on the road on Saturday, Sunday. I actually came back and thought, I'm going to see if I can fix this a little bit. Public Works was out there at 6 o'clock on Saturday night, probably making OT, but every one of those guys had something else they wanted to do. It was a Verizon problem, but 7 or 8 of our Public Works guys were out there for 2 hours clearing Valley Road, so Monday morning it would be there. I know we're paying them. Those guys should be congratulated and thanked for that good work. And finally, an 89-year-old woman, 47 years as a crossing guard at St. John's and at Highland, just retired at the end of the school year right here. 89 years old, she's still a crossing guard, helping our kids get across. Her name is Miss Dottie. I just read about it. It's awesome news. We should say something like, thank you, Miss Dottie, it's the end of the year. You've done this for 47 years. Why aren't we doing that in our commissioners' meetings? Why aren't we supporting our police officers instead of putting them on the spot and getting them into political things to say, come in here,
All right.
Lieutenant, come in
Mr.
here,
Rooney,
we love
your
you.
time has expired. Thank you.
Makes sense to anybody?
President Hecker, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I actually went to Ms. Dottie's ceremony at Highland. I brought her a township certificate, and I presented it to her. And you can even see me for about 2 seconds on 6ABC. Ms. Dottie's great.
You should have brought it up in your comment section then. You should have said something good about it.
All right, Mr. Rooney, please take your seat. We'll now turn to Zoom, unless there's anyone else that wishes to come forward. Thank you.
John Tracy, 663 Seminole Avenue. Hey, listen, I don't know what you guys could have done to, slow up the Toll brothers, or, maybe look into the title a little bit more and just make sure, things are going the way they're supposed to go. And I think that if you looked a little closer, you'd see that, they're a billion-dollar company, and they really, if you look at all the reviews and everything like that and talk to people, they really don't have a great product, and it's a very expensive product, and there's a lot of complaints that go along with it as far as like, warranties and, them being out of there as soon as they're done that build and on to the next build, just like the people that were here from Toll were out of here as soon as they got what they wanted. So, like I'm saying again, I don't know exactly what commissioners can do, but just recognize that it's not a great thing that's happening in our community. And that I'd like to keep this community as nice as possible. Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who wishes to come forward? All right.
Vince Kelly, 614 Kirkwood. I agree with what John Tracy just stated, and also related to St. Basil's. I mean, they were having carnivals in order to raise money. Anybody in the township should have been aware of the fact that the last couple of years there were only 100 girls that were going there. So with Carnal Doherty closing down and McDevitt closing down and North closing down over the last few years, last 20 years, the trend has been that Catholic schools haven't been able to sustain, okay? So with them charging $18,000, $19,000, $20,000 a year towards the end of their existence, in order for them to exist, there's a warning sign that's happening that we should recognize. Because if there's another, what's the next? Is it going to be Abington Friends, or do they have enough donors? But I mean, the trend is, especially with Catholic schools. I went to Catholic grade school and high school. My dad sent all 10 of us because we lived in the city. Out here, the school districts are better, fortunately, so we have the benefit of having wonderful school district. But with that being said, the other institutions are struggling because they don't have the money. They don't have the finances. So there should be some kind of program or some kind of liaison within the commissioner's office that should recognize this. This school's attendance is now only 100 girls the last 2 years. They're having carnivals in our backyard, which I supported. Whatever it took for them to raise money. When they came door to door, whatever they wanted, we wanted to support it because we wanted it to sustain. But obviously, as they were losing enrollment, nobody in the township was aware of it or recognizing it. They didn't see that maybe we should talk to them and find out what they want to do moving forward. Also, related to agreement of sale, there were stipulations related to the agreement of sale, whether or not you can get approvals from the township to change it from community service to residential, right? So we've been going through this process since April 21st, 2021, with the initial Zoom and every meeting that was set forward. So there were stopgaps along the way that, as a township, we could have taken, but we didn't. We didn't take them, and here we are. But are we going to do it again in the future? Or are we going to stand up and say, hold on a second, what's going on with your institution? How can we help, or how can we make sure that development is handled appropriately? You know what I mean? This seems to me, we're at a loss in my own backyard. But if it happens again, then the whole township's at a loss. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And with that, we will turn to the two residents on Zoom.
Laura Lehman, you're unmuted.
Laura Lehman, Meadowbrook. I totally sympathize with what these gentlemen have just said, and it is extremely disappointing to hear some of the fibs they've been told. First of all, the township knew about St. Basil's way before most anybody did, and I even heard rumors about it way before Toll Brothers was on the scene. And the township almost always knows about those things way in advance. They're very much in touch with everything. On top of that, Mr. Vey said we don't have any funds. We have millions and millions of dollars. If you knew how some of them were being used, you would be frightened. I think it is just unbelievable to hear him say, we don't have the millions of dollars that would have taken. In fact, we could have bought the Ross property at Noble Town Center, would have made an excellent town center for the township and saved the woods behind it, etc. And nothing was done on that. They were asked to do that for years. So, and we had the money. That went for something like $14 million. We had the money. We had $19 million of COVID money that went to take care of other things that we didn't have to take care of. Cedar Road has had no land development, and yet construction is already going on, demolition has already gone on, and somehow we can't get any straight answers. We are not getting answers. Mr. Manfredi promised me a meeting in May of last year after probably a year of asking him before that, and now he has refused to grant that meeting, and he won't answer questions. That's not acceptable. That somebody can't hand you a petition is not acceptable. I actually asked who was patrolling my neighborhood and was told to put in a right to know. That's not acceptable. Mr. Manfredi did not publish his own contract, nor Chief Malloy's. That's not acceptable, and I'm asking you, Commissioner Hecker, to tell him right now in this meeting to hand me those documents and not require me to have to jump through another hoop and put in a right to know because he didn't do his job. We have a policy that he is supposed to follow that requires the documents get posted with the agenda item. And by the way, St. Basil's was spot zoning. So you actually gave them the value of that property that bumped it up for the sisters and for Toll Brothers, that it shouldn't have been bumped up to. Okay, that is spot zoning. If it
Please
wasn't
conclude your comments, Ms. Lehman. Your time has expired.
Yes, I would like to say one more thing about the billboards. There has been a billboard on 100 York for years. I've been asking them to deal with that, and I get no answer. Are you going to change that, Mr. Hecker, that residents get answers and get results? Because you should be enlisting all of us to help this community become better. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one more resident.
John, you're unmuted.
Hi, I'm John Tigerson, and I live on Seminole Ave. I had a couple questions regarding the St. Basil's property I was hoping someone could address. In one of the early meetings, the Toll Brothers rep said that they were going to do an environmental impact study. I was wondering who did that and where I can get a copy of that study? And second was, when did the number of houses go from 105 to 150? It sounds shady to start off at 105 and then increase it by 50% without any sort of, I don't know, maybe there was pushback from someone somewhere, but I wasn't aware of it. So hoping to get those couple questions answered about the environmental impact and the huge increase in the number of homes. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Rothman, do you want to?
Yeah, I'll go with the easier one first. I believe it was 105 homes when it was single-family homes. And as the project evolved upon the presentation of multiple options that the public provided feedback on, when it moved from single-family homes to hearing the concerns about that many more students in the schools to going to 55 plus, that's when the same space was being used, but now being utilized with the 2, 3, and 4 setups of the carriage homes. I don't recall that there was a commitment to do an environmental impact study. I believe what they said, and I can follow up with Toll and get in touch with John. John sent me an email, and if I get the report, if there is one, I'll share it with you. I believe it was their study, they had to comply with certain dynamics of land development, and that was what was done by Toll in order to make sure that they could comply with that in connection with conversations with the Planning Commission. So I don't believe per se an environmental study was done. I believe there were certain dynamics that are required to meet the, I guess you would call it environmental related parameters of land development. And I think that was only there's 2 questions,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
Okay. Yep.
Thank you, Commissioner Rothman.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you, sir. Before we adjourn, I understand Commissioner Laney Martin wants to make a comment.
Good evening, everyone. I wanted to take a moment to celebrate a young person that lives in my ward. His name is David M. Maria. He is a high school, Abington High School student who has been selected as the winner of the prestigious National Merit Scholarship, placing him among the elite in the nation, here in Ward 5 in Crestmont. He has received the National Merit University of Texas at Dallas College Scholarship, and his probable career field will be electrical engineering, okay? And I think it's important for us to celebrate our young people. We hear a lot of noise about people doing horrible things all the time, and they get a lot of the oxygen in the room. But we have students and young people in our communities who are striving for excellence, and we should uplift them and help them and have positive vibes and energy about it. Additionally, on the other end, I have a person who is over 100 years old, and he resides in Germantown right now, but he grew up in Crestmont. His name is Deacon Barry, Deacon Benjamin Barry. He is a World War II veteran. He is 100 years old. He was born on September 21st, 1923 in Crestmont. He graduated from Abington High School, and at age 19, he entered the U.S. military. And he spent time serving in Europe and Normandy, France. He has been decorated with the Legion of Honor, and it's the highest French decoration and one of the most famous in the world. He was awarded to deacon burial on March 18th, 2024 in Philadelphia. And it's a whole acolyte of things. I don't want to take up a lot of time, but I just wanted to acknowledge that from one end, from the beginning of a young person starting out in life, and then at the end, another person who has this full, rich life, and they both came from Willow Grove and Crestmont section. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lady Martin. And with that, we are adjourned.